Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a preview for Dead X-Men #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Steve Fox with art by Bernard Chang, Jonas Scharf, and Vincento Carudo. Um, we have Death was only the beginning. When the world turned against Krakoa, these five mutants lost their lives, but their mission as X-Men was just getting started. To preserve Xavier's dream, they must accomplish the impossible or die again trying. Spinning out of the rise of the powers of 10, discover who are the dead X-Men. We're going to take a look at that in this video for sure. So if you don't want to know, go read the comic, come back later. It's not a big spoiler. We only have a couple of pages to show for the preview. But if you read the Hellfire Gala, you probably have a pretty good idea about some of these X-Men. I'm really interested in how these characters are coming back to life because, of course, if you've been reading, you know that the Krakoan resurrection protocols are no longer in place. I also really find the roster that we have for this book pretty interesting. I like Steve Fox. I like the tone of the book. Feels pretty dark, especially when you see some of the preview art. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, let's go on here and take a look at this art. So we have, like I said, very dark tones, very dark colors, and here we have the roster of characters. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm also pretty interested in not only how they came back, but what's going on with those bats. So let's take a look at who we have here. We have Prodigy, Frenzy, Jubilee, Dazzler, and Cannonball. Now, out of these five, I'm pretty familiar with three of them. Prodigy and Frenzy are a little bit more of newer characters. So, as I mentioned, you can go read the Hellfire Gala issue to get a little bit more background on some of these characters and what's going on here. So, we also have the appearance of Magic in her demon form, which is very cool. And of course, we figure out why these five, how they are in this domain, what's going on. So, overall, I'm super interested in what's going on with this book. As the age of Krakoa kind of comes to an end, I think books like these are just gonna tie up some loose ends and maybe give us some fun stories. Definitely a very interesting roster of characters with very distinct powers. But it's always good to see. Like I love Dazzler and Jubilee, so really excited to see them work together and what's going on here in this book. So, if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. We'll talk about this book further on, either on a short video or maybe during our live stream. So stay tuned for that. Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a preview of Avengers Inc. #5. This is the conclusion of this story. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into talking about this book. This book is written by Al Ewing with pencils by Leonard Kirk, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by Corey Petit. Excellent cover by Daniel Acuna. And of course, we will have some variant covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. So, I'm previewing this because it is the end of this miniseries. So I'll be covering that probably in length once I get to read all 5 issues. But let's talk about this one specifically. In this issue, the secret revealed. Her name is Janet Van Dyne. She led the Avengers. She's divorced. Deep down, she still considers herself a widow. His name is Henry Pym. He's the leader of the new Lethal Legion. He's her ex-husband, and he's very much alive. Together, they've got a lot to talk about. So very interestingly, this series focused on overall the relationship between Henry or Hank Pym and Janet, right? Which I think the MCU movies have changed a little bit. It is not as convoluted. It is not as up and down as it is in the comics, specifically in this book here. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here, so you can see what to expect. I think Leonard Kirk does a really good job, not only with the facial expressions, but also just giving us the story here. Make sure that it hits all the emotional beats while still everything looking very cool. I think this book has had some really good pacing, and I can't wait to catch up. I really want to know exactly what see the full picture that Al Ewing has been really coming along with for the past few months with this story. So, very interested in this. As always, there's some really amazing covers at the end of the video, so stay tuned for those. Uh, Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a preview of Marvel's Voices Legends #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the description of this book before we get into it. Cornerstones of the Marvel Universe unite in this jam-packed special. Captain America graces the city skies and dives headlong into the dangers and all the alleyways. Misty Knight gets the anniversary treatment as she approaches 50 years of publication history, and in a bold tale of corruption and abuse, and the hope that springs eternal, Elijah Bradley makes an explosive return to the spotlight. All this and more from the program that brings you the world outside your window in real time. Marvel Voices kicks off a triumphant new year of stories. Uh, we will see stories from featured creators like writer David F. Walker, Ezra Clayton Daniels, Justina Ireland, and Sherry Rainey Thomas, and artists like Julian Shaw, Karen S. Darbo, and Carlos Lopez. All stories will be lettered by Aaron Mayer. So, this is very cool. I really have been enjoying these voices anthologies. As you can see, every one of them mm, focuses on a specific theme. And as Black History Month approaches, Marvel launches this Legends anthology. So let's take a look at some of the preview art and some of the stories that we're going to get. So here we see Elijah Bradley. This is going to be the first story that I think we get in the book. Now, I don't know if I have art for all of them, but it'll be interesting to dive into this. We see, a big foe of Captain America, which is Crossbones. So it's interesting to see him, Isaiah, dealing with this threat. And then we also have three more stories. We see a little preview for the Misty Knight story, which will also feature Colleen Wing, the Daughters of the Dragon, which I love that. We also have a Deathlock story. There's also a Black Panther story that you can see here at the beginnings of it, and I know there's a Luke Cage story, I believe, based on the covers that you'll see at the end of the video. So yeah, these anthologies are a lot of fun. They allow to feature some characters that we don't see very often. They allow us to these characters to interact with people that sometimes they don't interact on a regular basis, but also feature creators that we don't see as much. Maybe introduce new creators onto the rotation of comic books. So really, really cool stuff. And of course, Marvel does a great job of getting amazing artists to do a lot of these variant covers that feature characters within the book. So, hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review of Wolverine #42, Sabretooth War Part 2. The war continues, but let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is co-written by Benjamin Percy and Victor Lavalle, who have been working with Wolverine and Sabretooth respectively in the line of comics in the last few months. Corey Smith on pencils, Oren Jr. on inks, Alex Sinclair on colors, letters by Corey Petit, main cover by Leniel Francis Yu and Romulo Fajardo Jr. And you'll see some of these other variant covers at the end of the video. Now, let's also refresh your memory on some of the characters that we'll see throughout the book. So, of course, we have Logan and Victor Creed Sabretooth. We also have a plethora of other Sabretooth or Saber Teeth, as they I refer to them in the comic book. We have Pretty Boy from Earth 12. We have Camo, who can transform into different people. We have Savage, who is a female version of Sabretooth. And we have Captain, who is a Captain America version of Sabretooth. And of course, in the X Force, who is here hanging out in the shelter, we have Domino, Sage, Wolverine, Laura Kinney. We also have Black Tom Cassidy. We had Duckin and Quentin Quire, but if you read the first issue, you know that things didn't end very well for them. So in this issue, Victor Creed and the Sabretooth have big plans for Logan. See the war escalate under the claws of the many Creeds. So yeah, spoilers for issue one. I won't go too much into spoilers for this issue, but um, Sabretooth every year he goes and finds Logan and pretty much tries to kill him on his birthday. And it is his birthday now. And not only is Sabretooth come around once again, he's brought a bunch of other Sabretooth from different parts of the multiverse. Uh, and they just go in the most brutal fashion to find Logan and anybody else that might be around that you might care about, which are pretty much the members of X Force at this moment. So really interesting stuff. This is all taking place right before all the stuff that's happening with Fall of X and House of Powers of 10 and all this stuff. So uh, let's get into it. This book continues to be a gore fest. They are really just having a lot of fun. Like this book says at the beginning, this is definitely a mature read uh, because there's just so much weird, crazy comic book nonsense. But I think both Percy and Leviah just like they really know how to write these characters and they understand how much they hate each other and the lengths that they will go to really just put that out there. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the preview art because I think, oh man, Corey Smith just doing some incredible stuff. I love it. I love to see it. I love the grins. Like just Sabretooth here is grinning. You get to see the remains of Dakin and Quentin just out there. The happy birthday that they spelled out for Logan. And of course, Logan, super pissed, out for blood. We get this amazing spread, just double page spread, where Sabretooth, he knows he has the advantage, and he's taking just rubbing it in Logan's face. I love that. I love how much they hate each other. It is so much fun to read. But of course, death would be too easy for Logan, so Sabretooth has other plans, and they are all very much messed up. I think one interesting detail is that uh, how the different versions of Sabretooth, although they have decided to work together, it doesn't mean that they all get along, right? As you can see here in these panels with Pretty Boy and our main Sabretooth. So very interesting stuff. Also, of course, very properly the members of X Force are able to react to this invasion. But what will that hold for Logan? I'm very excited. Remember, this is going to be a 10-part event. We are at issue number 2 of that event. So we'll stay on top of that on the channel. I believe these are coming out bi-weekly, double shipping throughout the month to make sure that we get to issue 50 as everything else in the Fall of X line wraps up. So yeah, very excited for this. You can see some variant covers at the end of the video. I've already picked up my copy of this issue, and I just, like when I read it, it was so much fun. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Avengers Twilight number 2. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Daniel Acuna, letters by Corey Petit, main cover by Alex Ross. As you can see, a beautiful Iron Man piece for this issue. So we are in this story in the future where the world has changed. The country is now a fascist state controlled by the government. Heroes are working for the government, and the Avengers are not what they used to be. But Captain America knows that things have to change and knows that he is needed, so he has gone back to put on the helmet once again to fight for what he believes is right. So, in this issue, with the clock ticking to the New Year's Day and the world against him, Captain America must build an army to save America. Will his surviving friends sign up, or is he going to have to lead the ragtag group called the Defenders against the expert military marksman known as Bullseye? Yeah, a lot happens in this issue. I think Chip Zdarsky has found really fun ways to twist and turn some details of the existing Marvel universe and how those things would play out in the near future, um, while Daniel Acuna just manages to Very, just the way that the art is laid out in this book is incredible. I think it helps a lot with the pacing. All the characters designs look really cool. There's a lot of color in especially for a book that is more of a darker theme, like, with all the fascist themes and everything that's going on. There's so much color on the page, uh, because it's all a facade that's presented by this government, right? We also discover a lot of secrets of who might be behind it all in this issue, and of course, as Captain America goes out to ask for his old friends for help, at least the ones that remain, you'll be surprised at some of the cameos in this book. I won't go too much into details. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's take a look at some of Acuna's art, because I can't believe that Acuna is just doing everything: art, layouts, colors. Just it's incredible work. I love the way that he uses light to just add a little bit of a layer, like the police sirens here with Captain America, that of course are also match the color of his outfit. Also, the designs of all the police in the future, with all the little, very very similar to Iron Man, to kind of demonstrate, like, well, we know that James, who is the son of Tony, is kind of controlling all these things, working very closely with the government. But here, as you can see, there are some other Avengers that are being controlled by the government, but these are, like I said, it's all pretty much a facade, right? So I love how much color there is in the outside world, and then when we go underground with the defenders and everything that they're planning, how much things change. It's a really interesting dichotomy of, like, the world above and the world below, the world as it is portrayed and the world as it really is. Very interesting stuff. I think the team is doing just fantastic job with the story. Like I mentioned, some really fun cameos, and maybe some really interesting reveals, and also some seeds of what we may see in upcoming issues. So if you haven't picked up your copy, make sure to go check it out. I've already gone to the shop this week, so I'm very excited that I already got to read this, hence me making the video. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Remember that members of our channel get a lot of these videos ahead of time, so make sure to check that out. All the details are in our YouTube page. And of course, if not, you can still share, like, subscribe. You can support us that way. Leave us a comment. And of course, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned because we will have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.